Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video we'll be using Arbok and VELUZA to clean up some games. Let's get into it. I immediately switch Indeedee into Sandy Shocks as he goes with the Salt Cure with the Gargarnacle. I take some salt damage. I then retaliate with the Earth Power, do a nice chunk. He goes back with his own Earthquake, I just hang on. He gets some lefties, I take some more salt. He goes for the Protect, just trying to scout me out. I go for another Earth Power, do nothing. He then switches into his Oricorio Pom Pom. I go for another Earth Power, he's flying right above that, and then Sandy Shocks finally goes down to the Salt. I then go into my Easy Bake Oven, he immediately switches into the Chansey. I go for the Trick, give him my Scarf. That Psychic Terrain finally goes away and he retaliates with the S-Toss. I go for the Volt Switch, do barely anything, but pivot into my Chien-Pao. I get that Sword of Ruin going. I then go for the Swords Dance right in front of his face. He goes for another Seismic Toss, does a good chunk to me. He then switches into his Belly Bolt. I go for another Swords Dance, getting very greedy over here. Go for the Ice Spinner, Belly Bolt just hangs on, gets the Electro Boost. Goes for the T-Bolt, takes out my Chien-Pao. I go into my Indeedee, get that Psychic Surge rolling up in here. Go for the Psyshock, take out the Belly Bolt. He goes back into the Gargarnacle, goes for that Protect, tries to scout me out. I go for the Psyshock, do absolutely nothing. He gets some lefties back. I go for another Psyshock, he just hangs on. Goes for the Recover, gets all that health back. I then decide to switch into my threat, the VELUZA. He goes for the Protect, does absolutely nothing. Gets some lefties back. I go for the Aqua Cutter, take him out. That Psychic Surge finally goes away. He goes into his Oricorio. I decide to switch back into the Indeedee, get the Psychic Surge right back up. He goes for the Quiver Dance, gets those boost. Goes for the Revelation Dance, Indeedee does about half. Go for a Psyshock, do a huge chunk, but he just hangs on. He goes for another Dance, Indeedee eats that up. Go for the Psyshock, take him out. His next Pokemon is the Basculin. He goes for the Flip Turn, takes out my Indeedee. He uses that to pivot into the Chansey. I go into my Talonflame, go for the Swords Dance right in front of his face. He goes for the T-Wave, paralyzes my bird. He then goes back into the Basculin. I go for the Braver, do a huge chunk, but he just hangs on. He goes for the Terra Water, Flip Turn, takes out my bird. He uses that to pivot back into the Chansey. I then go back into the VELUZA, go for the Terra Water of my own. He goes for the T-Wave, but you'll see that does not matter. Go for the Aqua Cutter, get the crit, take out the Chansey. He goes into his Gallade, goes for the Sword Dance right in front of my face. I go for the Aqua Cutter, take him out in one shot. My opponent is not too happy about that. Then forfeits, good game. Alrighty, let's get into the next game. I start with my Iron Moth, they start with the Talonflame. They go right for the Braver, do that big damage. I go for the Discharge, clean up the Talonflame. His second Pokemon is the Azumarill. I go for the Terra Grass, Discharge, do a huge chunk, but he just hangs on and eats his berry. Goes for the Belly Drum, loses a big chunk but maxes out the attack. Goes for the Aqua Jet, takes me out. I then go into my Dialga Origin form, get that pressure going. He goes for the Aqua Jet, I eat that right up. Go for the Flash Cannon, take him out. He then goes into his Enamorus, goes for the Superpower, Dialga just hangs on, he gets those boosts. I go for the Flash Cannon, take him out in one shot. His next Pokemon is in the Gengar, he goes for the Shadow Ball, cleans up Dialga. I go into my Donphan, he then switches into his Oranguru. I go for the Earthquake, do a nice chunk. He fires back with the Hyper Voice as a chunk right back. I give him another Earthquake, he just hangs on. Gives me another Hyper Voice, I just hang on. Go for one more Earthquake, take him out. He goes back into the Gengar, goes for the Shadow Ball, cleans up my Donphan. I then go into my Bombirdier. He goes into his Colossal. I go for the knockoff, do a nice chunk, get rid of his boots. I then go into my threat, the Arbok, intimidate the rock. He whiffs the Stone Edge. I go for the Earthquake, take out the Colossal. His last Pokemon is in the Gengar. He goes for the Terraghost, Shadow Ball, Arbok eats that right up. Even with the defense lower, go for the Earthquake, he just hangs on. But I have the Sucker Punch, take him out. Arbok gets the win. Good game. Alrighty, and that's the video. Please know what you guys think down below and stay tuned for future content. Peace!